In the crushing darkness of the abyssal zone, miles beneath the shimmering surface of the Pacific Ocean, there is a pressure so intense it would flatten a steel submarine like an aluminum can. This is a realm of eternal night, a place where the laws of biology seem to bend and where the massive, unexplored canyons remain more mysterious to us than the surface of Mars. For centuries, sailors spoke in hushed, terrified tones of the Kraken, a multi-tentacled titan capable of dragging entire galleons into the depths. While modern science once laughed at these accounts as the hallucinations of scurvy-ridden men, the late 20th century brought a series of acoustic discoveries that forced the world's leading oceanographers to reconsider everything they thought they knew about the scale of life on Earth. The shift began in 1997 when a series of underwater hydrophones, originally designed by the United States Navy to track Soviet submarines during the Cold War, picked up a sound that shook the scientific community to its core. It was a low-frequency, ultra-powerful noise that lasted for about 1 minute and was detected by sensors over 5,000 kilometers apart. Scientists at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration dubbed it the Bloop. The frequency profile of the sound was not mechanical. It possessed the organic variations of a living creature. But there was one terrifying problem. The bloop was several times louder than the call of a blue whale, the largest known animal to have ever existed. To produce a sound of that magnitude, a biological organism would have to be over 250 feet long, nearly 3 times the size of any creature recognized by contemporary zoology. As the recording of the bloop circulated through classified channels, the official explanation was quickly shifted to the sounds of ice quakes and calving glaciers in Antarctica. However, seasoned acoustic biologists remained skeptical. The bloop had a rhythmic, undulating quality that suggested a respiratory system or a massive set of vocal folds, structures that ice simply does not possess. Furthermore, the sound originated from a point in the South Pacific known as Point Nemo, the most remote location on the planet, furthest from any dry land. It is a place so isolated that the closest humans to it are often the astronauts aboard the International Space Station as they pass overhead. It is in this watery graveyard of satellites and space debris that something enormous and ancient appears to be stirring. The mystery deepened when researchers began looking at the scars found on the bodies of sperm whales, the undisputed kings of the deep hunters. These whales are known to dive thousands of feet to hunt giant squid, but they often return to the surface with massive, circular sucker marks burned into their skin. While a standard giant squid reaches about 40 feet in length, some whales have been found with scars suggesting suckers the size of dinner plates, indicating an adversary that could easily exceed 100 feet. These are not the marks of the well-documented Architeuthis, but of something far more aggressive and vastly larger. Some marine biologists now whisper about a species of colossal cephalopod that has remained hidden in the Hadal trenches, evolving in total isolation for millions of years. The terror of the deep is not just about size, but about intelligence. Cephalopods are known to have a decentralized nervous system, with brains located in each of their arms, allowing them to solve complex puzzles and camouflage themselves with near-perfect precision. If a creature of Kraken-like proportions exists, it likely possesses a level of consciousness that is completely alien to us. In 2005, a research vessel off the coast of the Kuril Islands lowered a high-speed camera into a trench and captured a few seconds of footage that was never fully released to the public. Those who claim to have seen the raw data describe a massive, shimmering eye, larger than a human torso, emerging from the gloom before the camera was violently severed from its cable. The ocean is not just a body of water. It is a vast, liquid veil, and beneath that veil, a silent, multi-armed predator is watching the surface, waiting for the moment to remind us that we are not the masters of this planet. While the bloop remains the most famous acoustic anomaly of the deep, it was merely the opening note in a symphony of terrifying sounds that have haunted the hydrophones of the world's navies. In March of 1999, just 2 years after that first gargantuan signal, a new sound was detected emanating from the same desolate stretch of the equatorial Pacific. Scientists named it Julia. This sound was a haunting, 15-second eerie cooing that was so loud it was captured by the entire Eastern Pacific Autonomous Hydrophone Array. What made Julia particularly disturbing was its source location. It originated from a point between the coast of South America and the remote Easter Island, a region characterized by massive underwater mountains and thermal vents. The frequency was too low for a whale and too consistent for an earthquake. It sounded like a massive, hollow moan echoing through a cathedral of water, suggesting an organism with a body cavity large enough to resonate at a frequency that can travel through thousands of miles of dense ocean. The official narrative again leaned toward icebergs grounding on the seafloor, but the logistics of this explanation were thin. The sound of Julia was detected at a time when there was no significant ice activity in the southern corridors, and the acoustic signature lacked the sharp, crackling peaks associated with fracturing ice. Instead, it had the fluid, harmonic structure of a biological vocalization. If Julia was indeed a living creature, its size would defy every law of marine biology currently on the books. It would imply the existence of a predator so vast that its very movement would create localized current shifts. Some researchers began to speculate that the Kraken is not a single species, but a family of hyper-adapted, deep-sea organisms that have utilized the immense pressure of the trenches to grow to sizes that would be impossible in the shallower, sunlit layers of the ocean. This brings us to the classified world of tactical oceanography. During the 1980s and 90s, the United States Navy operated a system known as SOSUS, the Sound Surveillance System. This was a secret network of underwater microphones designed to track the mechanical hum of submarines. However, retired operators have since come forward with stories of contacts they called the fast movers. These were biological signatures that moved at speeds exceeding 70 knots faster than any known whale or modern torpedo. These fast movers would appear on the sonar screens, maintain a steady course for several miles, and then suddenly dive vertically into the trenches at speeds that would crush any man-made hull. These were not machines. They changed direction with the fluid grace of a cephalopod, leaving the sonar operators in a state of stunned disbelief. The physical evidence for these titans often comes in the form of what we find inside the predators we can actually catch. In 1934, a large sperm whale was harvested near the South Shetland Islands. Inside its stomach, sailors found the partially digested remains of a tentacle that was nearly 35 feet long. If that was just a single arm, the total length of the creature it belonged to would have approached 80 or 90 feet. But even more unsettling are the reports of the Lusca in the Caribbean, a rumored hybrid of an octopus and a shark that inhabits the deep blue holes. In these vertical caves, divers have reported seeing massive, rubbery arms reaching out from the limestone walls, arms covered in serrated teeth that can strip the flesh from a bone in seconds. In 2012, a specialized deep-sea submersible off the coast of Japan captured something that was never officially categorized. As the craft hovered near a hydrothermal vent, a massive, bioluminescent shape drifted across the floodlights. It wasn't just large, it was translucent, revealing a complex internal structure of glowing organs and a nervous system that pulsed with rhythmic light. The creature didn't move like a fish, it moved through jet propulsion, but on a scale that displaced enough water to rock the 5-ton submersible. The footage was immediately seized by the Research Institute's corporate sponsors, and the crew was issued a non-disclosure agreement that remains in effect to this day. We are forced to ask, why is the existence of a megacephalopod being treated as a sensitive secret? Perhaps because the existence of a Kraken would mean that our global shipping lanes, the very arteries of modern civilization, are passing directly over the hunting grounds of a creature we have no hope of controlling. The final piece of this aquatic puzzle emerged in May of 1997, during the same era of mystery that gave us the bloop. It was a sound that scientists called slow down. For 7 minutes, a massive, descending frequency echoed across the Pacific, captured by sensors thousands of miles apart. Unlike the sudden burst of a volcanic eruption or the sharp crack of ice, slowdown was a long, mournful deceleration. It sounded like a colossal machine winding down, or more chillingly, like the dying breath of a creature so large its lungs could hold the volume of a stadium. The sound has never been heard again, leading some deep-sea theorists to believe that we didn't just record an animal, we recorded the passing of an ancient titan, a singular event in a world that operates on a timescale of centuries rather than years. But the real terror lies in the concept of the colossal intelligence. Cephalopods, such as the common octopus, are known to have 9 brains, 1 central command, and a mini-brain in each of its 8 arms. This allows for a level of multitasking and problem-solving that is fundamentally different from human cognition. If a Kraken-class organism has survived in the depths for millions of years, its intelligence would be vast, cold, and entirely incomprehensible. There are theories that the sounds we interpret as mere noise, the bloop, Julia, and slowdown, are not just vocalizations, but a form of organic sonar or long-distance communication. It is possible that these creatures have mapped the entire ocean floor using acoustic pulses, creating a mental image of the world far more detailed than anything our satellites have produced. Consider the strange phenomenon of the white holes in the deep ocean areas where the sea floor is littered with the bones of thousands of different species, collected in a way that does not seem natural. In the 1980s, a secret Soviet expedition to the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench discovered one of these underwater graveyards. Amidst the whale falls and fish skeletons, they found the wreckage of several wooden ships from the 1800s, their hulls crushed inward as if squeezed by a giant fist. There was no sign of a shipwreck or a storm. The vessels had been dragged down. This suggests a predator that does not just hunt for food, but one that is curious, or perhaps even vengeful, pulling the strange wooden objects from the surface down into its lair to inspect them. The ocean floor is currently being mapped by private corporations looking for rare earth minerals, and their findings are often hidden behind proprietary walls. In 2024, a leaked report from a deep-sea mining firm in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone mentioned unidentified biological obstructions that were actively sabotaging their robotic drills. The machines were being found tangled in a thick, protein-based webbing that was stronger than Kevlar, and high-frequency microphones on the drills captured a series of rhythmic clicks that seemed to mimic the sound of the machines themselves. It appears that the Kraken is not just a myth from the past, but an active resident of the present, learning from us, mimicking our technology, and defending its territory against the intrusion of industrial light and noise. The reason for the silence of the scientific establishment is perhaps the most frightening realization of all. To admit the Kraken exists is to admit that the ocean is not a resource to be harvested, but a sovereign territory. If we acknowledge a creature of this scale and intelligence, we would have to rethink our entire approach to the sea. We are not the top of the food chain when we leave the shore. We are merely visitors in a world ruled by ancient, multi-armed gods that have seen civilizations rise and fall. The sounds from the deep are not just anomalies, they are warnings. They are the voices of the abyss, telling us that some places were never meant to be mapped, and some secrets are better left in the crushing, silent dark. The Kraken is not a legend. It is the heartbeat of the ocean, and it is a heartbeat that is growing louder.